I just stood there surrounded by these paddy melons, and it went through my head the thought, people had paid to look at this.
And really, we want to restore it to its prime and then just add our personalities on top.
I'm so excited. I remember camping here when I was little, and just coming back up and seeing it come back to life is just brilliant, yeah.
So we were like basking in the glory of having just reopened Warrawong, and then we made the most awful discovery, the worst possible scenario you could possibly imagine. Oh no, David, that's not what I think it is it? You don't think that could be a fox, do you?
How is that possible? The last thing we want to see is a fox, but we also need confirmation. Your heart sinks, you know what it is. The only thing that's going to do that is a fox. It's one of the very things that inspired Dr. Wamsley all those years ago, because let's not forget, he bought this place in 1969 and he invented the feral-proof fence to keep out cats and foxes. You know, they are the two most destructive animals in Australia. His goal was to fence off 1% of Australia and keep it protected. It still sounds like a pretty good idea to us. To carry on Wamsley's legacy, we need to fix the fence and we need to exterminate the fox.
That fox has got to go because I suspect it's learnt to climb the fence, and it'll teach its young ones how to climb the fence. And before long, all the foxes in the valley will be able to climb the Warrawong fence, and Warrawong will be in serious trouble. So we have to get that fox. Everyone can tell you how to build a fox trap, but I've never actually met anybody that's actually trapped the fox. So it's a sort of a myth about how to trap foxes, but they're not easy to catch.
This might as well be scrap metal. It's like we've had it out for a couple of weeks. It's got bait in there. It's supposedly a fox trap, but I just think they're too smart to go in.
On the other hand, if you build a chook house and put chooks in it and forget to lock them up one night, it won't be long before the foxes learn to pick that and go in and knock off all your chooks. So what we're going to do here, we're basically going to build a chook house. It'll have a doorway for the chooks to come and go.
This is a weld mesh enclosure, which is basically going to be a double chamber chicken coop. There's going to be some kind of like solenoid that's going to be activated by an app. There's going to be vision that goes to our phones, so that we're hopeful that if a fox ever gets onto the property again, it will automatically be drawn to this enclosure, go through the trap door, we'll be notified, we can activate the solenoid, and it gets trapped in here, know where to go.
Look at you. Well, I think this is a little crimson rosella. He's definitely underdeveloped, so you can see here, you can see all his keel bone here. It's got no feathers, but he's very advanced, so that tells me that he's probably a lot older than he looks. So maybe mum just wasn't feeding properly, hence, you know, being kicked out of the nest. So yeah, I said let's give it a home. We weren't going to let a fox stop us from acquiring more animals, so we decided that we would take on some baby animals, ones that we could hand raise and keep in captivity until such time as we knew the fox was gone. I don't know if you've ever seen emu chicks before, but they are absolutely adorable. They're just so fluffy and they've got these gorgeous little stripes. So we thought, you know, what better way to share them with people than to pop them in the souvenir shop. Yeah, little Penny. She's a funny little thing. We got Penny, a little barn owl chick from Featherdale Wildlife Park. Yeah, I think the parents had basically kicked her out of the nest, so they gave us a call and said, you know, have you got room for this gorgeous little barn owl? I don't know if you'd call her gorgeous at that age. They're pretty ugly cute, as we call them. But yeah, Penny's a superstar. She really has settled in quite well and is part of the family. Well, we've all grown to love Penny as ugly cute, but honestly, have a look at her now. Well, what a first job for young Penny. She went to a Harry Potter themed wedding at the Bridgewater Mill, and it must have been quite intimidating for her.
Yes.
The owl, of course. Yeah. She should sit there nicely. Of course, every time I say they sit nicely, they never do.
She just wowed people with her beauty, and she's got such a personality. So yeah, we couldn't have sent anybody better.
She's learning to pose. Well done. Very proud of you.
And while we're trying to deal with the fox issue, we're also trying to buy the huge lake next door that used to be the water supply for the wetlands of Warrawong. So absolutely imperative that we get that back and reboot the ecosystem. Lakes do not come cheap. This is really going to stretch us. So Narelle and I decided we were actually going to launch a GoFundMe campaign and see if we can tap into some of the goodwill surrounding Warrawong. This really signifies what the problem is, but in reality it's not us that are locked out from the water supply, it's the animals. On the other side of this fence is the lake that we're talking about. That lake used to be a part of the sanctuary. It is imperative that we buy it back. It's 50-60 metres across, it's 17 metres deep, it's 55 gigalitres, which is a lot of Olympic swimming pools. The pump used to pump 15,000 litres an hour all the way to the top of the hill where the cafe is. It's now broken, animals are suffering, we need to do something about it. What you're looking at behind me is Blackwater Lake. We do have a breeding pair of platypus here, thank goodness, because for all intents and purposes they are extinct on mainland South Australia. So what we have here is the only remaining population.
Well, the platypus come up there, and in fact we've got films of videos of platypus working here. So they come right up and the people in the restaurant can watch platypus out here. It is amazing.
It's starting to be a bit of a worry with the water level in Blackwater Lake. Like if you have a look at where it should be and where it currently is, it's like it's low. It's been a long, hot summer, so we've got to get the water circulating. We started to hear calling in the middle of the night, and really it's blood curdling. You know your animals are dying, there's nothing that you can do about it. Yet while we're waiting for the technology to activate the chicken shed fox trap, things have taken a turn for the worse. We need to take some drastic action, and we need to do it now. We found a wallaby that's been decapitated. Oh God. So first of all, it was the potoroos that disappeared. Now they're bringing down redneck wallabies, which I just didn't think they'd be able to do. We opened 1st of September, and prior to that date, there were animals everywhere. We've got a photo of a little boy sitting out in front of the cafe with a dozen potoroos around him. They're just not there anymore. So we're already getting people saying, where are the animals? And it's kind of difficult saying the fox ate them all. We've had some camera traps out, so I can show you some photos. We're basically just trying to establish some kind of habit, see if there's some sort of routine going on. So they're all date and time stamped. So this is the gate up the top of the tent land, and as you can see, it's like a thoroughfare, just backwards and forwards, backwards and forwards.
It always looks at the camera, doesn't it?
Yeah. So this is outside the den. There's like a forearm.
Yeah.
Look, it's not an easy thing to get rid of a fox. I mean, they are called cunning for a reason, and they are very intelligent animals.
It's outsmarted us for 4 months.
And it's not just a matter of going out there with a light. It's a bit more than that. I mean, that's why we use the thermal. Thermal vision, especially when we're shooting in somewhere like this, identification of animals. You've got native animals, so we know they're either native or feral. When you get into some of the fox species, and like koalas, for instance, if they're on the ground, they'll look at you and they'll put their arms straight down, and it gives an impression of a fox. The same as some kangaroos, when they're squatting down and all you're getting is the face looking straight at you in the ears. And that's why we use thermal for identification. I'm pretty confident that the thermal, one spotting and both having rifles, that we should be able to eliminate.
Hi.
Hello.
Hey.
How's it going?
How are you?
Hello. We are going well. Tell us.
How's it going?
Well, we had some good news. Last night we were able to eliminate the vixen.
Okay.
Which
I should be
is
excited
good.
by it.
Yeah, I know. It
Really?
is good news. She come across here and she ended up about 100 metres over there on the hill. So we were able to take a clear shot with some good backdrop behind. And eliminate her instantly, which is another good thing for us.
Brilliant.
So
Am I allowed to see the body?
Yes, we can show you.
I'm not like.
I do actually have some
happy,
pictures.
but
I took some pictures last night.
It's a bit of closure.
Yeah.
We're happy to have helped and get you back on your way.
Thank you so much.
No,
Really
it's a pleasure.
I can't give you a hug.
Thank you.
Good one, Rose.
Thanks, Josh. Thank you so much.
Happy to help.
Well, as you can imagine, we were absolutely ecstatic when we'd caught the fox, and we knew that it was just the perfect time to start restocking the sanctuary.
Oh, hi, you got some new neighbours. Got some new neighbours. Hello. You got some corn. Yeah, you're next to the noisiest one on the planet, I'm afraid.
Received our first kangaroo joeys, so we were super excited. Levi and Lucas, so two little boys who were rescues. And we've got this lovely little nursery area up the top of the property, so we released them into there. They were just so excited. The lady who donated them said that they had been in a very small backyard, and so all of a sudden they had all of this space, so they were hopping around madly, doing what we call zoomies, up and down, just so excited, and yeah, they're just absolutely gorgeous.
And learning how to stop.
That's a boy, yeah. That's good fun, isn't it?
Was that fun? Look at you, you're loving it. Look at your ears go.
So we acquired these gorgeous curlews, bushstone curlews, which are actually a carnivorous bird from Darling Downs Zoo.
It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. I know. All stiff like a piece of wood. There you go. Isn't that amazing? Just flatten out, look like a piece of timber. Hey, a little bit of bark.
We thought that would release them into the cafe area just because they're such a magnificent and unusual looking bird. So they've got these long legs and these gorgeous kind of spotty feathers and these great big googly eyes. And they've just become, such an attraction here at the sanctuary. People come down for coffee and just check them out through the window. And as such, they stare back. So yeah, they're just a gorgeous, gorgeous bird. My search for some animals to restock the sanctuary, I spoke to an old friend of mine, Matt from Symbio Wildlife Park, and he offered us some redneck paddy melons. And I was just so excited because, what a great addition. And I know how much they mean to John Wamsley, so, what better person to ask to come and release them. So David and I were actually away at the time picking up some rock wallabies, and so we gave John a call and said, hey, how would you like to release these paddy melons coming down? And John was delighted, so it was just a perfect moment.
This is called Warrawong, and that's where you're going to live now, kiddo. Is that all right? You're quite calm anyway, that's good. Only just got it, Joey. They live as a colony, so they should all group up.
Oh, that's good.
Well, I suppose releasing anything back into Warrawong is pretty good, but paddy melons, the special thing about paddy melons, the first animals I met in the bush that interested me were paddy melons, redneck paddy melons from the Sydney region. And nobody could tell me what they were because nobody else saw them but me. I used to know how to sit quietly and watch them because they're very shy in the bush. They're a lovely little animal. For a while there it looked as if nothing was going to be back in here, but fortunately David and Narelle bought it and they're doing a fantastic job, so that's good. Hey, calm down, Don't want you to get upset. Just calm down, just calm down.
What an honour it is to have everybody here this evening. Like, for Narelle and I, it's a long journey from WA, like bringing the family over, packing the dog, but standing on the shoulders of giants. That's what Warrawong is to us. Like, we bought it because we thought that this was our long-term future. What we didn't realise is just how significant it is in South Australia, and I would also say Australia. It's a national treasure. Back to my original point, standing on the shoulders of giants, to John and Prue.
David, we love this joint. Yeah, we do. We always have, and we're so glad to see you here. I'm sure volunteers would be welcome and are needed, but that's not why you're here, of course. But really, we've all got a part of our heart here, so that's it.
David, we wish you all the best with this. We'd love to see it thrive.
Indeed.
It's you know, it's very close to our heart, and just know that somebody else is taking it on. We're really thrilled to the back teeth. So best of luck with it.
Yeah.
After all this time, like more than 18 months, we have finally managed to get the deal for the lake over the line. There was a lot of circumstances surrounding it, but just so relieved to get that lake back to Warrawong. This is a really big day. This is the first time that Warrawong Sanctuary has been reunited with its lake for 12 years. Buy back the lake, bring back the life, we've done it. This is the final piece of the puzzle. We've got the final piece to put back the ecosystem that Wamsley designed all those years ago. we raised about $45,000 through the GoFundMe campaign. That is exactly the amount that we paid on the stamp duty and fees to purchase this property, and the rest is us just getting deeper in debt, but it is so worth it. This place is going to be incredible. This is one of the concrete water troughs that John and Prue put in the side of Lake Kumbungi with the idea that this whole facility would be a platypussery, sort of platypus breeding, platypus research. So we'll have a look at the good one. This isn't it. It's full of water. Let's see if this one's in any better condition. That would be a no.
Well, this was set up, we call this a platypussery, but the whole thing's really a platypussery because it's all about where platypus can live. But the idea was here to be able to look a bit more closely, learn a bit more about platypus. These are underwater observatories. You can go inside and it's got glass windows. You can look out into the water. And in fact, there was a time when you could come and watch platypus in the water here from those because there were platypus in the water. I don't think the windows have been cleaned since I left, so they're gunking up a bit.
Isn't this just insane? It's like you're not talking about a government institution, you're not talking about university research facilities, you're actually talking about Dr. John Wamsley and Prue, who had the vision to build something like this. And the potential is still there. It's like, a lick of paint, give it a clean, maybe get some of the muck off the windows. But can you imagine coming here, bringing the kids and actually being able to see platypus swimming out here being fed?
Oh, there would have been up to a dozen platypus lived in this pool all at once. You could come down here nearly any time and see a platypus.
The water is supposed to circulate from the lake up to a little header pond right outside the cafe. It gets pumped up there, it then runs down the hill through a series of settling ponds. So, sediment and nutrient come out in the ponds. The creeks themselves are lined with limestone so that as the water rushes over them, it builds up alkalinity because the crustaceans that the platypus like to eat prefer a slightly alkaline water. So a really, really intelligent system. We just need to get the water flowing.
I was rather shocked when somebody said, how many platypus are there now? And I hadn't thought about it. And when I looked, there was no food for them. So the platypus have been gradually reducing in numbers. So there's no life whatsoever in that. If I'd have done that 15 years ago, this would have been absolutely full of life. It would have been probably 1,000 cyclops you'd be able to count in there. And today, there's absolutely nothing. Cyclops are a tiny little organism. They're related to snails and shrimp and that. And they spend part of their life cycle in the mud, and that's when the platypus feed on them. So they're a very good indication. The number of cyclops in a glass of water is a very good indication on how healthy the system is for platypus. If you had a paddock of horses that were starving to death, everybody would get very excited. But here we had a colony of platypus starving to death and nobody gave us stuff. So we had to do something about that by increasing the food supply. And we do that by adding limestone. This is the first lot. This is 6 tonne we bought here to start off, and that's what we're putting in now over the next month slowly, and then we'll look at it again and see how we're going. Yeah, this system's built to support a colony of platypus, but it won't naturally because the water here is slightly acid. A kilometre of creeks and pools isn't enough, doesn't produce enough food if it's slightly acid to carry even a pair of platypus. So if we can get the acidity to where we wanted it, like pH of over 7 and the calcium up around about a couple of 100 parts per million, then this system will carry over 20 platypus, and that's a nice colony to keep going here. When Narelle and David came and bought back the lake, they convinced me that they were serious, so I'm giving them all the help I can. I see it as my job to do it, to get this going. My job is to save the platypus I saw it as.
So we built a really nice, sizable koala enclosure for essentially for rescue koalas, and we picked the spot that they're in because it's a lovely natural area. It's got lots of trees, and with the height of the perches in there for the koalas, they actually can look out and essentially feel like they're out in the wild. So yeah, it's a lovely spot for some rescues.
Here we are, Warrawong.
New home.
Yes, so exciting, isn't it?
We don't need that. We got you, buddy.
Let's get you in to your new home. Hey?
So
Yeah, look at the size of him. He's
No, wait. Here.
He's not waiting. He is not waiting.
Front floor, please.
Woo!
boy. Oh yeah.
See you, mate. See ya. Goodbye. Goodbye. Be good.
Yeah.
Mr. Elder.
Mr. Elder.
He was found on a 4-lane road, had nothing in his stomach, he was miles away from trees, and he was that weak we didn't expect him to survive. So we're thrilled that we could take him to Warrawong Sanctuary, where he could live out his life. It was very happy, but sad. I had to fight back a couple of times before I left, some tears, because I'd had him since August, and he'd become part of the family, but it was still very happy to see him climbing.
Don't you be looking where you can jump.
He does jump.
Sussing out.
Oh, you shouldn't be able to reach up that to him.
Sounds like a big koala mine.
I was actually very proud of my handiwork getting that enclosure security proof so that no koalas could escape and climb trees. So yeah, I was a little demoralised when I saw Mr. Elders bound over the little strip of corrugated iron, which I had calculated to be the perfect height, and he disappeared scaling the eucalypt. Yeah, it was a little embarrassing actually. We were actually very lucky to still have the guys here from Fauna Rescue when Mr. Elders made the Great Escape, because they had all of their rescue equipment with them, so they flagged the koala down. Koalas just don't like have anything above their heads, they get spooked, so they climb down, and that's how you rescue a koala. So fortunately we were able to get Mr. Elders down, and then I could go back and fix up the problem that I'd caused. We basically had to double down on our security, which means, you know, I'm up a ladder with corrugated iron, but hopefully this time I've outsmarted them.
They're just so gorgeous and so loving, and they give you so much good energy. When you're sick, it's amazing. I've just got over a second bout of cancer and was very ill. I couldn't have animals for a while, but then when I was allowed, I went back to the koalas and that, and the energy they give you is amazing. Once I started looking after them again, I also had something to live for as well.
The first problem we encountered after having bought the lake property is realising there's no electricity down to the pumps. Basically, solar was our only option because there just isn't any electricity running down to the lake pumps anymore. When all of the separate titles were sold off in 2006, there was also a subdivision, and the power supply to the lake was never transferred back onto the lake property, so that got lost, which means we had to go with solar. We had to buy a new pump, which is something that, you know, John's taken care of. We had to put up the scaffolding, had to get the solar panels, and then of course had to check all of the piping because there hasn't been water pumping up from Lake Cumbungy since 2006. There have been a couple of tenants here in the meantime. We've got no idea where the pipes are or what they do. So now that we've got a bit of pressure in the lines, it's time for some trial and error. We're pretty confident without actually knowing that all of the pipes are connected, and we think we've got it going in the right direction. So I guess it's now time to flick the switch and see what happens. You right, John?
Yep.
David to Narelle, come in please, Narelle.
Narelle here.
We've turned on the pump. Is anything happening up there yet?
Nothing as yet, no.
Yeah, okay, we're just going to have to check some taps. Bear with me, I'll get back to you. David to Narelle, come in please, Narelle.
Narelle here.
Okay, my mistake, I've had it diverted down into Blackwater Lake, so I've now closed that valve and it should be coming up to you. Any signs of any water?
No signs of water, but there is air coming out of the little bubbler.
Okay, look, it might take a while because it's probably another 300 or 400 metres to get the water up there, so we'll come back and hopefully by the time we get there the water's flowing. We're on our way.
Okay, so exciting.
David! David, John, hurry up! It's flowing! Quick! Come and have a look!
Wow.
Yay!
Isn't that wonderful?
Good job, John.
Yeah.
Good job.
It's wonderful.
High five, sweetie.
There,
Oh
we've done
God.
it.
You did
We've
it.
done it.
It's just gorgeous. Turning the water on, oh my God, I feel like that has been the conversation around here for the last 2.5 years. And to finally be able to flick that switch and see water coming out of that little bubbler, I mean, what a moment. And you know, being able to share that with John and Prue was just such an honour.
It's the moment of truth. Got to be more realistic.
Just snuggle him in here. Got to hide his broken foot.
It actually brings a tear to your eye to realise that you've achieved something that needed to be done. Like the ecosystem at Warrawong was designed holistically, so just to be able to put a couple of pieces of the jigsaw back together, it's humbling to realise that you can actually do something like that, and just so happy for the animals. 13 years in the making.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, it's a long time and it took.
Oh, look at the birds coming down. Ah.
Really?
Yep, they just came down to the edge of water and they took
they'll
off
love
again.
it. They used to bath there all the time.
Oh, that's going to be amazing.
Yeah, that'll attract all of the birds. Will be in there bathing. This here is the only successful platypus breeding program in the world. There's no doubt that platypus will end up back here again. The system, as soon as the system's going, as soon as all the pools are full in between, and as soon as there's enough platypuses to spread out and fill it, this will be full of platypus again, and some of them will be up here. Yeah, there's no doubt about that.
Well, it's been an incredible adventure. You know, there's certainly been some stressful times, but, you know, it's all coming together now and I just can't wait to see what the future holds. And I really just hope that people come down and support the sanctuary, and I think the future looks really bright.
There's no more milk in there, but he still won't let go of it.
Just seeing people coming to Warrawong and the enjoyment that this place provides, it's like we've got a long way to go, but yeah, we've got a good head of steam up and I'm very confident.
looking out especially onto the grasslands, it's just amazing to go from having no animals or seeing no animals to now literally being bombarded with kangaroos and wallabies and magpie geese and swans, and it's just fantastic. I mean, life really has been brought back to the sanctuary, and I can't wait to share it with everybody.
I never want to leave.
I'm trying to get Warrawong going again, and they're doing their best to get Warrawong going again. Everyone's doing their best to get Warrawong going again. So Warrawong's for the people of Australia, and if everybody really wants it to go again, it'll go again.
And it's very nice that they made this place which they can take care of the animals and make a happy home for them to live.
So this is why I have to save Australia's biodiversity, because they're the ones that will inherit it.